Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, and pretty much anywhere in the United States today is one hot day out there. I hope everybody's staying hydrated. I know I went through about 2.5 liters of water as I'm jumping in and out of my car every day, or today, doing medical care work. I got a great show tonight. Jeffrey Desikovic will be back 30 minutes past the hour. I'm going to ask him about some of these free agent acquisitions. Hey, Carlos, good to see you pop back on the screen. I hope you can be on Friday. Hope all is well there, my friend. But anyways, so Jeffrey will be back here 30 minutes past the hour. Going to talk Nikola Vucevic, the Chicago. Carlos says he'll be back in the grid. Nice. A lot of good topics there I haven't got to you on. We're going to talk about them. I'm going to get Jeffrey's opinion on a few topics as well. Bradley Beal. What does he think about that? Does that put them over the top? The Boston, the Memphis, that big trade there. There's some stuff going on with Draymond Green and Damian Lillard. We'll get all that. But first, let's go ahead and take our first and only break. And I'll be back here in 49 seconds here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty, I'm back here live. Now, okay. So today, the Chicago Bulls' Nikola Vucevic signed a 3-year extension to stay with the Bulls. Now, the Bulls were below 500 team last year. Vucevic is borderline all-star player, 2010, 25-11, 25 and 12-15 type of guy. When he's really on in a league that it seems to be leaning back towards the big, what we saw with the Jokers doing, the accomplishments that he has had in the with Denver. We saw the 7-footer, of course, Giannis out in Milwaukee. And I just thought that Vucevic would be a better fit with the championship contender. I've talked about maybe pushing him to Miami. A Golden State could use a guy like a Vucevic. There's a lot, even a Milwaukee. He's a little younger. He'll be 33 in October. And, my thing is what players don't get is looking past your career. Say your career's over with, time goes on, and you got to think, okay, how do I last in people's memory? And the reason why I say this is you look at a guy like a Tim Tebow, for example. I mean, this guy was a big college football star. Okay, won a Heisman Trophy winner. Nominated for another one, 2 national championships, very little success in the NFL, overdrafted, kind of got a fluke play there and won a game there over Pittsburgh. But the guy, anywhere from $30,000 to $140,000 for speaking engagements. whether it's a corporation, schools, or whatever. And I think about that, and I think about a guy like Vucevic who's probably got kids. Well, I know he's got kids. I know he's married, and it seems like he's settled in, and that's fine. But I also think about guys like Albert Haynesworth, who he says he regrets taking the free agent money and not going for take a little bit less and going for a championship with Tennessee, or just going to a championship team. You know, people remember when you go deep into the playoffs, whether you're in the NBA, whether you're in Major League Baseball. We all remember Derek Jeter. To me personally, I think Derek Jeter's career and memories in people's heads, and post-career accolades. I mean, the guy owns a part of the Tampa Bay Rays, right? But the post-career accolades are more for him than they are for A-Rod, a much more talented player, you know? And I think that's something that players, you hear a lot of them say that, looking back, you know. Today also, Travis Kelce, he said, listen, he's a tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. He said, listen, I know I can make more money on the free agent market. But this is Kelce. This is what he said today. Kelce doesn't mind being underpaid. He says, when I saw Tyree go get $30 million a year, in the back of my head, I was like, man, that's 2 to 3 times what I'm making right now. I'm like, the free market looks like fun until you go somewhere you don't win. I love winning. I love the situation that I'm in. And Pickle says, the postseason makes an icon. Let's go back. Let's stay in the NBA. Let's stay with the Bulls, for crying out loud. B.J. Armstrong's a very successful, he played with the Bulls, those first 3 Bull teams. He's a very successful agent in the NBA. And, you know, when you say B.J. Armstrong, it seems like a household name. If you're anywhere from 35 to 54 to 60, 70 years old as an NBA fan. John Paxson has got an executive job. You know, just role players on championship teams have good jobs. You know, you think about all the opportunities that Derek Fisher got. Who was the guy's name? Rick Fox, players like that, because they played deep into the postseason with the LA Lakers. You know, think about how many people know who the Celtic players are. They haven't won a championship, right? But, you know, everywhere I go, people ask me, yeah, man, what do you think about Marcus Smart? What do you think about? And Marcus Smart, he's not the greatest player on the world, but he's a good defensive player. But he's on a team that plays well into May when the ratings skyrocket and for the NBA, when they go up 300 to 400%. And, you know, yeah, you may make after taxes, after agent fees. And, you know, I was listening to, by the way, this is really good. Dana Carvey and David Spade, 2 legendary comedians from SNL. They were interviewing. They got a great podcast. Wow. You know, everybody's got a podcast now, right? But these guys they really some big head honchos. I don't know how long they've been doing it, but those guys could pass Joe Rogan. I was listening. They were interviewing Brandon Fraser. He got he got an Academy Award for a movie called The Whale. I can't wait to see it when it gets a little cheaper, or it comes out on like stream where I can stream it and we'll watch it. Brandon Fraser, and Fraser said, "Listen, man, when I first $1 million after my agent fees, after taxes, it was like $375,000." I'm thinking, God, where was you at? You know. But when you look at that, So you go to a losing organization, or you stay with the losing organization for just a little bit more money, and you clear at the end of the day $4 or $5 million, and then you blow through that on for whatever reason. But if you go deep into postseason and you stay ingrained in people's mind, you're just going to get more opportunity. You're going to get more opportunity post career. Look at how many players on those championship teams from the Cowboys, they're just role players. Daryl Moose Johnson is a commentator and been a commentator forever with Fox Sports. And he was like a fullback for the Cowboys, and so it's something to be said. Plan for a team, no matter what sport you're in, that's going deep, and part of that is you don't necessarily have to just take for the league minimum, but just a little bit less. I don't want anybody to get robbed per se, but and Pickle says glad Haynesworth. Yeah, Albert Haynesworth with the Tennessee Titans. Titans were making playoff pushes during his time here. I want to say Kerry Collins was a quarterback at the time. This was between after the debacle there with Vince Young. And this team had guys like Chris Johnson, but this guy was the anchor of the Tennessee 4-3 defense under Jeff Fisher, just for things kind of really went south with Jeff Fisher and he left. And I listened to an interview with him about a year ago, Pickles, and then he says, I was miserable. I had the extra money, but those last few years, he says they seemed like just decades. Even though it was 2 or 3 years with Washington, just to get that. He said, I should have took just a little bit less. I wouldn't have the hassle moving. I know that I could have been in the playoffs every year, and I was much more happier with the coaching staff there. I love Tennessee. I'm a Tennessee. And he just went on and on. It's like the extra money now is not really worth the long term. Now, of course, he's still revealed here in the Nashville, Middle Tennessee area because he played for University of Tennessee. They had some really good teams here, and the locals don't forget that stuff. He beat Florida one year when Florida was like the number 2 team in the country, and Tennessee was a big underdog back in 2001. Him and John Henderson, but he said he just wasn't that happy. So not always. It's just that few extra $1 million in some cases. It's really not worth being in, and more often than not, in a more miserable situation. Plus, you got to think long term is what the general public and the opportunities that you get from playing in those, not just immediate, commercials or advertisements, endorsements. You got to look down the line. Those memories stay ingrained in millions and millions of people's heads. So I'm really disappointed in Vucevic staying with the Bulls, but it just goes to show you, just not quite about winning. That's okay. Different strokes, different folks. I still like the guy. I think they're, like I said, a Portland, a Milwaukee, a Miami, a Golden State. There's several places that a guy like that would have been able to contribute like nobody's business. Okay. Damian Lillard update. Okay, now Damian Lillard, Clutch Points Sports is they're reporting that he's going to meet with Draymond Green tonight. So I don't know. Now, part of me thinks this is more than just one type of strategy from Damian Lillard. I do think something's going to happen. I think he's going to be traded. He doesn't want to be the villain to say, I want to be traded, Lillard. But I do think that because, people in Portland are pretty nice. I talked to a couple of years ago. I had some problems with my cable, Comcast or whatever. It's Xfinity now, but at Comcast. And I remember talking to this cable guy out in Portland on the phone. Real nice guy. One of the nicest people I ever talked to, And I think the people are really cool there. A friend of mine, she moved there, moved back. She said, it's a little bit wacko. People are nice, but she said, the prices are wacko and, the environment's not quite natural. She moved back in 6 weeks. But of course, I'm sure she wishes she's there now because we got a lot of humidity down here in the Tennessee area. But I do think that maybe the two could team up and go somewhere else. Say, for instance, if he's traded to Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's got to give up 2 forwards. If they give up a Chris Middleton, if they give up a big and a bunch of draft picks, would he go and team up with a Giannis and a Draymond Green? Now, I said yesterday, I think Green should sign with Sacramento, be a role player. They would be a real player to win a championship. I mean, they pushed Golden State to 7 games. Very young team. Remember, they were a 3 seed last year. They're still very young, still very hungry. Under Mike Brown, who coached Draymond Green when he was assistant at Golden State there, the head coach there. So I do think that would be really good for Green. Now, like I said, but Lillard, something's going to pop there. Could he go to Portland? Yeah, possibly. Draymond Green, but at 34 years old, Scoot Henderson, what's this guy's name? Jarek? Whatever. The big man who's always hurt up there. Don't quite have enough if a Draymond goes to Portland. They would still need another wing or another big. Now, if they could get a Dylan Brooks and a Draymond Green and a Damian Lillard with the young Scoot Henderson, yeah, you could possibly talk me into selling that to a Damian Lillard. They could be healthy there or competitive. But if Lillard's really serious about a title, I think a Miami would be really good, or a Milwaukee. And particularly in Milwaukee, I would love to see Draymond, Giannis, and Damian Lillard there. I mean, I would just love that because those are 3 physical players who are all out when the money's on the line. You would like to see those 3 together. I don't know if that'll happen or not, But anyways, so we'll see how all that plays out. My prediction is he's going to request to be traded, and there's going to be some talks there. My favorite's going to be Miami with Damian Lillard coming up. Okay, some news that broke here just before the program started here. The Patriots, I didn't put this in a title, but I'm killing a little bit of time before Jeffrey comes on. In Rappaport, sources say the Patriots and Devontae Parker, remember that's the former Miami Dolphin player who signed with, maybe he's traded there. I think he was traded to the New England Patriots last year. Parker, we saw some flashes with him and Mac Jones. So they have agreed to, and the Patriots are very reluctant to give a receiver an extension. I want to say they also picked up Juju Smith-Schuster in the offseason. But in Rappaport's saying that Parker has reached an agreement on a 3-year contract worth up to, and air quotes, $33 million. The deal done by Parker's longtime agent includes $14 million in guarantees, pregame roster bonus. So he'll be there for, and also in Rappaport of NFL Network says Devontae Parker's new deal with the Patriots does nothing to diminish New England's optimism for bringing in DeAndre Hopkins. Okay. Now, if you put a Parker there DeAndre Hopkins there. Don't sleep on Traquan Thornton, folks. He's a speedster now. Who's Traquan Thornton? Traquan Thornton is a player. I want to say they got him a third round out of Baylor. Not this year, past draft, but he's a second-year player out of Baylor. Players make their biggest jump from year 1 to year 2. He was the fastest player at the combine, this Baylor player, Traquan Thornton, and started to pick up a little chemistry there with Mac Jones at the very end of the season. Again, this team pushed Cincinnati. They pushed Cincinnati Bengals when the Bengals were playing lights out, AFC championship games, had a shot to get back to the Super Bowl Bengals on Christmas Eve, Pickles, if you remember, to a one-score game late in the fourth quarter. They tied it up at like 24 or something. Now, remember that. Now, mind you, they have a real offensive coordinator now. They have a real offensive coordinator. And Bill O'Brien's a good offense coordinator. You know, I think it's going to go real smooth. I've read some good things about their mini camps, and I think that there's a good chance this team could finish second or third, and they have a really good shot to get a wild card in this division, especially if they can get a DeAndre Hopkins. And one report says they may actually try to sign Dalvin Cook too. Now they've already got Ramon Stevenson. He like a third-year guy out of Oklahoma. He's going to be their lead back. They have a good secondary back there. They're good up front. They've actually got a pretty decent pass rush. They needed a little speed at linebacker. They had some trouble against the Justin Fields. We can't forget that game. But I do think this team's going to be a lot better, and I do think that they are. And again, as of today, what's today? Wednesday with the 28th. They are still the front runners to. They are still the front runners. To get Hopkins, according to the odds. They're still the front runner. So, we'll see. We shall see. I'm going to go ahead and put Jeffrey's thing back up there. I'm trying to get his banner squared away here. There we go. Okay. For when he comes on here in just a few minutes. We'll see what happens here. Here's my only issue with Hopkins. Now, and I'll say this, and I think Pickle says Devontae Parker, excellent third down. But, yeah, he's a third down possession guy. He's still got some speed. He don't have the speed he used to have. He's not an old player. New England don't sign anybody a 3-year deal that they consider old or lost a step. So, of course, I haven't broke down that particular contract. This news just broke about 30 minutes ago. So nobody has the information on that Devontae Parker extension. But going back to DeAndre Hopkins. Now, Hopkins, if he wants to be lazy and hold out till after training camp or late in training camp just to blow off training camp, if I'm Tennessee or New England, I'm not signing him. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. If he wants to go kind of just hang around Houston, draw a paycheck, go down there to Houston, work with the young quarterback. I do not like that when players that get older, particularly if you're coming to a new team and you're trying to develop chemistry here. So you won't have to run in training camp. That would be a total turnoff for a guy I'm paying probably, I don't know, anywhere from $8 to $15 million a year. Now, Baltimore, they overpaid that $15 million for Odell Beckham, a guy who's post 30 years old, did not play at all last year, coming off an injury. He might be great because I know he's a workout warrior, but there's no way I would have paid that. But I said that the reason why Baltimore paid that is because it's hard to get players to play with to play with Lamar Jackson because he is not the most accurate quarterback on the planet, no matter what people say. Actions speak louder than words. His last, who was the Hollywood Brown, he wanted to get moved over to, he asked to be traded to Arizona. Why? Because, whatchamacallit, Lamar Jackson's not getting him the ball on time, okay? A player, yeah. And Pickle says he's a waste of money. Yeah, he might look good in September. And I think, and you know, the thing with Baltimore, they're supposed to be throwing the ball more. They got this new offensive coordinator that's coming over from the University of Georgia. They're going to be slinging the ball all over the place, and that's just not a strong point for that's not a strong point for the Ravens there. Or for Lamar Jackson. I don't think I don't think the light bulb this many years into the league is going to go off for him. Now, hey, they may shock me. Roquan Smith predicting a special year on defense. They still got plenty of players on defense. They pushed Cincinnati pretty hard also during the regular season. They beat Cincinnati one game. And, of course, they pushed them pretty hard in the playoff game. That was without Lamar Jackson. So I could be wrong. I doubt it. I think that there's a possibility John Harbaugh could be fired this year. And I do think that that Lamar's probably going to look good early. And then they'll take a step back and then they'll turn back into a running team. But as far as New England, yeah, everything is pointing in the right direction for the New England Patriots, and you want to be flying under the radar. You know, I was watching the Amazon Prime has a documentary. I find all these weird documentaries on Amazon Prime when I'm flipping through, and it was on Tom Brady, and it was talking about Antoine Smith, the running back during their first run there in the Super Bowl, and he's like, you know, that 2001 team. The Patriots had beat the Rams that year, and with the second year Tom Brady as a quarterback. And, you know, he says, we'd love to just stay under the radar, man. We stayed under the radar all the way through the Raider game, through the Pittsburgh game, you know, all the way big underdog in the Super Bowl. And, you know, that's the way we rock the roll. And even after that, we was hoping we would still be under the radar. That's the Patriot way. He's saying that. He says, even look now. And I'm thinking, you know what? That was 20 years ago. But Bill Belichick's looking back and he's thinking, I'm glad that everybody's, hyped up on. And Miami, they are the class of the division. Don't get me wrong. They match up really well against the Patriots. I want to say they sweep. I think they won 4 straight against New England, if I'm not mistaken. They are the class. I think they're going to win that division. I've come around to that. And again, I'll make my final predictions on that come up here after Labor Day. Harbaugh is one of the first coaches that will get fired this year. Pickle says Harbaugh, one of the first coaches to get fired this year. I don't see why. I'll say this. If Cleveland – what's his name? Stefanski up there. If Cleveland don't make a big run, I expect them to make a big run. I expect Cleveland to make a playoffs one way or the other. Cleveland's too talented. Jim Schwartz, he'll tighten that defense up. They're good on the back end. I like the skill positions they picked up. I'm a fan of Deshaun Watson, the quarterback there. I know he's had his issues. Another full year. I expect Cleveland, but if Cleveland falls short and they're like a 7-10 team, I think they'll move off of Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland. And I think there's a good chance that the Raiders with Josh McDaniels will probably move on. And I think Todd Bowles, they'll move on there. I think they could possibly be in the top 5 there. So those are 3 off the top of my head, Pickles. Yeah, Pickle says Stefanski there too. And Brandon Staley, they have to win big. And I expect them to. I mean, as of today, I think they'll get the 1 seed in the West. So just on cue there's Jeffrey Descovich backstage, and I was wanting to get him in, get his questions up here. All righty then. Hey, Jeffrey, how you doing, man?
Hey, Rob, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm good. I got your foundation up there, and I was just reading about Damian Lillard and meeting up with Draymond Green. Let me start off there. What do you think that Damian should try one more year with Portland, or you think maybe he should, discuss being traded for Portland? That's kind of been in the news over the last few days more than anything.
Yeah, in my opinion, he should get out of there like now.
Yeah, me too.
Look, let's be for real. I mean, they're not. They have no chance of getting a ring. They're not like a player away. I kind of doubt they make the playoffs. I mean, why? If you're a talent like that, why do you want to stay on a team? That can't make. That's not going to make the playoffs. I mean, don't you want to try to get a ring?
Right. And I want to say he's been there like 11 years. He's 33 years old. He don't really have much left.
His window is like 3-4 years, right? By the fourth year, I mean, then he's got to have somebody even better than him that, maybe he's like a third option or like a really, faded Robin. I mean, if he goes to the right situation, I mean, he could still be Batman. I'm not advocating for him to try to join and go on a super team necessarily. Yeah. I mean, I think he could be the missing piece, for example, in Miami, where they were just like a good backcourt player away. Yeah, but I mean, why would you want to just keep playing and on a team that can't, that they can't win?
Right. Pickles makes a good point. 3 years ago he would have been even better for somebody at the age of 29 or 30, correct. Right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, now he's got his window is much less now.
Right. I'm thinking 2 years, man. 2 years of peak years, and then like you said, he'll probably have to be the third wheel or something like that. After that, I mean, they're only human.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I know you're a big Kevin Durant fan. I'm curious. I've been really curious. What do you think about Bradley Beal going to Phoenix?
Yeah, like, oh my God. I mean, yeah, I know they gave up the 4 first rounders and everything, and that was a lot. But
that was like a second round, and then they basically
there was a second round swap as well. But to go from CP3 to Bradley Beal, I mean, wow. I mean, I don't know, 1 to 10. That's like swapping out. I don't know. I guess I'll be generous and say a 7. You could swap a 7 for a 10.
Yeah.
I mean, that really. Yeah. I mean, that's. Oh my God, the rich got richer, right? I mean, look, they still gotta, in my opinion, they still gotta fill in the gaps a little bit. They still need a few more role players. I don't think that Bradley Beal is it. They still have to add a few role players, but wow, I mean, that's who's got I mean, either one of those 3 guys could easily be would be a number 1 on virtually any team. I mean, for them to get rid of Chris Paul who's always getting injured, and let's face it, his production is down. I mean, he was like 14 and 7, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And Bradley Beal is in his prime. I mean, that's oh my God, what a steal. What a steal.
Yeah. And I just thought, I was telling somebody the other day, I just wonder if that is because of his salary, and he hasn't played that many games the last 2 years. Do you think there's maybe some hidden injury concerns for Bradley Beal? He's played like 40 and 50 games the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is that element, but then again, there is that element to it for sure. But I think the bigger thing is that, Washington is rebuilding. Yeah. And by the time they're ready to be a playoff team, they're guessing that, it's too far off in the future. They're not a couple years away. I mean, look, they basically swapped out Bradley Beal for Jordan Poole. is what it really amounts to. Because I personally believe that when they received CP3, they already had this other trade already in the works.
Yeah,
I mean, they basically went from Bradley Beal to Jordan Poole plus the draft picks. I think that's a win for them. You know, Jordan Poole certainly has more miles on the tire in theory than Bradley Beal does. I think it's a good move, and look, it lets them still be. They're going to be entertaining, right? I mean, it's one thing to be bad, but at least be entertaining. I remember the Knicks.
They're trying to put some. They're trying to bring some fans in. Yeah, that is interesting. A lot of people haven't talked about the Washington side of it. They got a new president. You know, I don't know what the deal is with Washington. They just seem like another one of those franchises. You'd like to see them get it together and win a championship, man. You'd think that'd be a big basketball town, DC, like that, you know?
You would think. Listen, it's a short 3-hour Amtrak ride from New York City. I actually took that ride myself between last appearance and here. I have a buddy that lives out there. So it is. It should be a big basketball. It should be a big basketball town. It's certainly really big in baseball. Then they close a whole street down.
Yeah,
on national things. But you got to have play. You can't just get rid of Bradley Beal just for all prospects. I mean that you got to demotivate your fan base. So I think Poole makes a lot of sense there.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it was.
Do you think they'll keep Ayton in Phoenix?
You know, I don't. I don't. I think that they've kind of moved on from him. But you know, they have to get somebody. They got to get somebody, you know, good. They got to get somebody good. Another dump fest in NBA.
Carlos is just
Carlos
he's always raining on parade.
Well, yeah. Well, so, you know, his comments are timely. I mean, that's what I think the Jordan Poole trade was. I mean, that was more than just basketball. I mean, trading Poole for CP3. I mean, first of all, you know, they were about to be stuck with a $140 million contract for Jordan Poole, and you know, I think that they jumped out the window a little bit. He had the really great campaign that first year, and he won the champ. But even in that championship run, when he was spectacular, there were also other games where, you know, he almost disappeared, and that kind of overtook him. So they didn't want to be stuck with that contract. So they got rid of his contract. It would have been the $140 million and luxury tax and all of that. The CP3 is only there for a year. So that money's going to come off the books next year if they don't re-sign him, or if they do, they have that money to try to get a top tier free agent. So I can see how it helps that way. And look, I mean, they lost in 6 games to the Lakers, right? There was the Jordan Poole ill-advised 30-footer in one game. And then Steph, you know, feeling the pressure, tried to do too much in game 5. He launched those 2. He lost the 2 threes. So if they had the good backup play, I mean, if Chris Paul could have just gave him 4 points, if he could have just given him just 4 points in that game, assuming everything else played out, you know, they could have won. They could have won that series. I'm almost thinking back to when the Warriors had Sean Livingston to come in and relieve Steph Curry. I mean, certainly Paul can equal that. I mean, Chris Paul, a faded Chris Paul is better than Sean Livingston on his best day. I believe
he is a smarter. You know, somebody, I think it was Colin Cowherd, and it may have been one of his guests, one of these NBA insiders. He says, you know, Paul will lower their turn. They turned the ball over a lot last year, especially in the playoffs, man. Remember that Kings series? They got really lazy.
I do remember they almost lost that series because of the turnovers. I do remember that, and certainly the turnovers, the turnovers certainly hurt them against the Lakers as well.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, you know, it constantly the lack of a good backup point guard. Every time Steph went to the bench, you know, they lost leads. You know, their production was down. I mean, CP3 is going to, you know, I think.
You think he's going to play backup role at this age, at this point in his career?
Well, I think he doesn't have. Well, I do because number one, in general, I would say no. But look, they already asked him, what role are you going to play?
He never has. 18 years, right?
They asked, they asked him that, you know, what role are you going to play? And they were trying to, you know, the media was trying to provoke a reaction out of him. And obviously that's what they were getting at. But the reality is there's no way in hell he's starting over Steph Curry. They're not going to start him over Clay. He's going to come off. He's going to come off the bench. I mean, maybe there's times where they'll go for like a 3-guard lineup, but that's they're not going to start the game like that. I don't
think so either.
And if they do, it'll be a minority amount of time. So he's not going to have a choice but to come off the bench. But look, he needs a ring too. He's
not getting any younger at 38.
No, he's not. He's running the risk of going the way of Charles Barkley and Karl Malone, to name just a few greats that just never got the ring. You know what CP3 reminds me of? Kevin Johnson. You remember KJ?
Kevin Johnson from
Phoenix. They was him, Marley, and Eddie Johnson, aka
Barkley. Wasn't he there with Barkley in '93?
He was there with Barkley. He had
I think that they had a good little run there.
They didn't win. They narrowly lost to the Bulls in the finals. They lost a 2-point game, a 3-point game, and a 1-point game against that Bulls team. They had Tom Chambers. I still remember they had Richard Dumas and Cedric Ceballos and Mark West, and then they had the other was it Oliver Miller? I think they had the two centers.
They had a lot of balance.
They really did. It's the opposite of what the Phoenix is now. They don't have any.
Yeah. So you're saying that they're going to move Aitman for role players?
For who?
For role players, perhaps, and bench players.
Well, I think they're going to move him, but they're going to try to get somebody good.
Okay.
Try to get probably not a star, but they need to get a mid-level for him. I mean, I don't think he feels. I mean, he doesn't look all that comfortable with them, to be honest. When I look at him play,
you got Vogel there though. He's good with centers.
Yeah, Vogel could certainly be a good reclamation project, kind of like when remember the Heat took Isaac Austin and got his game going back again when they were going against. So it could be that could work. Yeah, he is the mayor of Sacramento. KJ is the mayor.
Carlos thinks who would pick up Aiden. I have no idea, Carlos.
You know what might be a trade of almost reminiscent like in football when the Lions and the Rams they swapped the quarterbacks there. Goff and Jesus, this guy's name.
Stafford.
Was that
Matt Stafford?
Yes. Yeah. Maybe what if they swapped Ayton for Julius Randle?
That's interesting. A
couple of bigs that kind of fell out of favor, but still have some ability that maybe.
Carlos would hate that. People don't like Ayton.
I know.
Carlos says LOL. I think we give Ayton a shot with Vogel. Vogel's so good. Look how good Anthony Davis. We mentioned the guy Roy Hibbert for Indiana.
Yes.
Pickle says Ayton in Milwaukee. Yeah, Brook Lopez is not getting any younger. He's also about 35 years old, 36.
Yeah. So, yeah, he is. Speaking of Lopez, a lot of people are talking about another piece for the Warriors. Maybe Robin Lopez. Robin Lopez is the brother.
Yeah.
Tall, can defend, can rebound. He can shoot the three, so that means he can pull. I don't think the Warriors necessarily need somebody to post up. I mean, if they have a big man that can pull the other centers, out of the paint because they can shoot the three or at least shoot long distance, that could potentially work for them also.
Yeah, I don't even know where Robin is nowadays. Where is he?
I don't think he's signed. Is he? I think he's.
He may be playing for Taiwan or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they should get him and Dwight Howard back, right?
Dwight Howard.
You're Dwight Howard.
I'm worried about Dwight Howard.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Taiwan team only wants to pay him something like a little bit less than 30% of his contract.
Yeah, $20 an hour, man.
But he's lucky if he's going to find any locker at all anywhere. I mean, that guy had all the talent in the world, man. I really believe he never really had the ability. He never really had the desire. He didn't have the desire, which is why he couldn't get along with Kobe, who was all about maximizing your talent, all about desire.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that is true. So what are your thoughts on that blockbuster? I thought it was a blockbuster between Boston, sending Porzingis and then sending Smart down here to Memphis. How about that?
Yeah, I think Boston got better. I mean,
Me too.
I mean, Smart was certainly, a big player for them, big in the locker room, but I mean, he certainly had his shortcomings as a point guard. I mean, Porzingis is a better player to me than Marcus.
And they needed a guy inside. His stats have gotten better the last 3 years.
Yeah, he can post up. He can shoot the three. He can shoot the jumper. He would have been great for Golden State as a matter of fact. I mean, he would have been good for them as well. But
he would have.
I would have rather got. Yeah, I would have rather gotten him for Jordan Poole than to get CP3. I'll tell you that.
Carlos says another high hope. Yeah, I think Golden State. They needed to get younger, man, and bigger. Instead, they got older and smaller.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think that Dunleavy is done there.
Right, there's still got some more moves.
I think that they're going to do another trade. I think Kuminga's out the door. I think they're going to trade Kuminga.
Oh, okay.
Because look, they're orienting their roster to win now.
Yeah.
And Kuminga Jonathan Kuminga simply isn't simple. Oh, all right. Pickles says Robin's not the
Pickles keeps up with the league, man.
Yeah, but
hanging out in Cleveland.
Jonathan Kuminga is not ready to be a contributor on a championship caliber club. He's just not.
So they're going to keep Draymond Green. He's just posturing as a free agent.
That's interesting. I'm not sure. I mean, they want. Well, Curry wants him. The players want him. Kerr wants him. I mean, I feel like that was. Kerr was trying to send a message, when he said, look, we're not championship without him. But I don't know why he didn't just take the $27 million. I mean, to be honest with you, as good as Draymond is. Yeah. I would pay him to keep him. But honestly speaking, dollar for dollar, I don't think he's a $27 million player.
You know what I was thinking? I made this point last night on last night's program is he's 34. These guys got to realize that, you're going to slow down, and I would love to see him as a rotational player right up the road with his former assistant coach that he played under in Sacramento. They could use a guy like that and they, be a rotation, him and Sabonis. So he's not got so much on him being at 34. So, and they need an experienced guy like that. They played pretty well in the playoffs. They got a 3 seed last year and pushed Golden State to 7 games.
Yeah, they did.
Corey's talking about.
Corey makes an interesting point, though. He says that Phoenix should have traded for him instead of Beal. I would have balanced. I agree. Honestly, I think that Draymond would have been better.
Or Draymond, either one. Yeah,
Draymond would have been a better fit. In the sense that he was gonna pass the ball around. He was gonna be, he's gonna be like a high caliber role player. He's gonna give you some scoring, some defense, some rebounding. He's gonna handle the ball. He's gonna get some assists. And that would have been. I think that would have been better actually than Beal. The issue now is, you got 3 scorers. Yeah. Can they? Durant and Booker made it work. Can you add another 20 plus point per game scorer? Can they coexist? And if they can, what's that going to mean for the rest of the team? How many shots you can't only just play defense. You got to touch the ball. Yeah. You got to shoot occasionally. You got to be involved in the offense in order to stay really locked in and engaged on defense and hustling and still being in the game. I don't know how that's going to work out for the rest of the Phoenix locker room.
Yeah, I'm optimistic on Phoenix. I don't know if they can beat Denver, but it's still early. It's a lot of moves to be made. Free deals don't start until Friday, where legal tampering in air quotes starts on Friday the 30th. So a lot of stuff can still happen.
Yeah, and I believe, like I said, I do think something else is going to happen. I'm still waiting to see. I'm still waiting. The big question, of course, the big shoe to drop is where is Kyrie going? Is he joining the Lakers? Is he re-signing in Dallas? If he re-signs in Dallas, what else is Dallas going to do? I mean, you can't just rely on the draft pick that they picked up. What are they going? What's Dallas going to do differently? I still, like I said, Golden's. I mean, we're talk show commentators, right? I mean, the Warriors GM, has to be smarter than us. He has to know that they're not big enough. They're not strong enough. They were a tremendous size disadvantage. They have to. They got to get somebody that can defend, that can rebound, somebody that could give them maybe like 10 or 12 points in the post, even just some place to go for when the jumpers are off. I mean, there was some god-awful games by Clay. There was some really poor. There were a couple of poor shooting performances by Steph. Although Clay had the 2 good games, and then he kind of stank up the court. Him and then since departed Jordan Poole.
He looked a tick off in some of those games. He wasn't the defender he used to be.
They had nowhere else to go to score. Yeah. They couldn't. Yeah. And really, when you have nowhere to score, you have to be able to get something in the post. I mean, that by definition, those are close. Those are 4 to 5 feet, shots. Out. It's you should be able to shoot 55, 60%. You're in close.
Yeah.
But of course, betting, going back to Kyrie, I mean, betting on Kyrie is never a good idea. It's never a good idea. Nicholas points out
he's the fan of the Mavericks. I just don't want Kyrie's a guy that you got to put him on a day-to-day contract if you could get away with it.
Yeah,
you don't know what he's going to do from 1 minute to the next.
Yeah, I completely. Yeah, I completely agree with that. You know who would be interesting to. Who might be interesting to trade for maybe the Lakers or maybe even the Suns. I wouldn't give up a lot for him at all by any means, but Jesus, now that I need the name is leaving me. He's on the he's on the Nets. The guy that they ran out of town in Philly. Australian.
Ben Simmons.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a really good ball handler.
Simmons would be perfect for Phoenix because you don't want to shoot. No problem. We got Durant, Booker, and Beal. He could handle
the ball's a hot potato to him.
Yeah, he can defend. He can defend. He can rebound. At least he used to be able to. I mean, I mean, what the hell happened to him?
6'10" frame. I mean, he. I don't know what's up with Ben Simmons. I think I said this for a long time. He needs to see a psychiatrist. He's like lost his confidence or something,
Yeah, but you think that you think he's seen his last effective minutes on the floor?
Man,
I mean, his whole career doesn't have to be flushed.
That is true. He's really young, man.
And then the controversy and then sticking out.
He said check up from the neck up.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's right. He does. Yeah, he does. That's all.
A-Rod went to a sports psychologist, John Smokes, Patriot. So it's sometimes we lose our what do they call it in golf? The yips. When you can't hit the ball right. So he just, I think it's still
such talent. But when he was good, he had talent. I mean, look, it's ridiculous that he can't shoot the ball at all. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But I mean, get in a gym. Get in the gym. Get a shot. Get in the gym. You got to shoot 300 or 400 shots a day. Then so be it. So be it. I mean, dude. I mean, you
wasted talent. It kills me, Jeffrey. It kills me.
You lost. You took a loss on the 19. Remember the $19 million he lost? I mean,
yes,
that was crazy.
His little ego was shattered. Do you have any thoughts on Victor Wembanyama? Do you think he's going to be all that?
Not so much. I mean, I'm.
I know he's young. Who knows?
I'm worried that the expectations, for him are going to be too high. He looks kind of thin to me. I mean, is he going to get pushed around and beat up? I mean, it's hard to. I don't know, man. I think, you know, maybe he'll be a mid-level type of thing, somewhere in the middle. But I don't think he's going to be the superstar that people think that he is. I think the San Antonio fans are thinking that he's the second coming of Tim Duncan.
Well, he had dinner with Tim Duncan and David Robertson.
The Admiral. Yeah.
So the Admiral he's in training camp.
Listen, maybe the Admiral could still play. Maybe he can come in and, you know, get 2 blocks a game, 10 rebounds, and give you 8 points.
I read the day that Wembanyama he measures at 7'3.5", so he's a half-inch taller than Kristaps Porzingis. There was rumors he was 7'5", by the way.
Yeah, but he's so thin. It almost reminds me of Sean Bradley. And I mean, Bradley had that one good year. But I mean, Bradley, I think Bradley has to be regarded as a bust, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't like centers that are too thin. And
Durant looked like a Kenyan runner, if you remember, out of Texas. Because everybody liked Greg Oden when he was drafted, because Oden had the big build, but we know Oden had his foot problems, though. You know, Durant grew in his body. He grew into his body. So,
he did. Yeah.
And it's not the 80s or 90s. I mean, I do a show with Jim Jeffcoat, and he said the same thing you're saying. He's like, man, this guy's too thin. I said, Jim, it's not 1986. He's not going against Bill Laimbeer and Kevin McHale and those guys.
That's true. I mean, honestly, there aren't very many true centers that are good. I mean, there's the Joker. I mean, but he's just really a center by position. I mean, mainly. There's Embiid, and you know, I can't. You know, there's not very many. I mean, Adebayo, but that's really a power forward.
He's only 6'9".
Yeah, he's really power forward playing center. But I agree with Pickles thinking that he will get schooled physically inside. He definitely will. I mean, he's gonna need to hit the gym kind of hard.
Yeah.
You know, he should, you know, fitness training, working out. But
I don't think anybody should suspect anything for 3 or 4 years, but I'm optimistic. The guy, I think he's really skilled. He's really fast for a guy that is that fast, that's that tall. I saw some of his YouTube stuff, man. He could go back. He could shoot the 3. He's not like your typical clunky big man, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I you know, a player he almost reminds me of that comes to mind as you were saying that, like Kevin Garnett.
Going way back. KG, yeah.
Kevin Garnett.
He was thin coming out of high school.
Yeah, I mean, KG was tall. He was lanky. Nobody ever thought he was going to be in the post, and he wouldn't. But he, you know, he could shoot. He could shoot from the perimeter. He relied on his quickness, you know, his intellect, you know. So maybe he could try to emulate his game somewhat.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully something big will happen. You got anything else to add?
No, just I'm waiting to see. I mean, I think I think there's going to be another trade with Golden State involving Kuminga. Or they're going to sign somebody a free agent, but probably going to get rid of Kuminga. I'm still waiting to see what the Lakers do. The Kyrie Irving. I mean, I think that they should bring back D'Angelo Russell.
Oh, really? You think so?
I thought he played. I mean, he kind of lost himself against Denver.
Yeah,
he did kind of lose himself against Denver, but the 2 rounds before that, I mean, you know, I thought that Russell was very good against Minnesota. He was lights out against Golden State. I kind of felt like there was the extra motivation there, recalling that they kept him for like half a year and then they traded him. So I felt like that was kind of the extra motivation. But even if he's their backup, I mean, you know, he still would be, you know, I mean, they can't just go back to having no point guard at all. Okay.
You don't think Kyrie will take a significant? He would have to take a pay cut, because I'm reading the Lakers going to bring back Austin Reeves, which I agree with.
I agree with bringing Austin back.
And Rahu Hashimura, I think is his name.
I liked him. You know, he played very well again. You know, he was one of the few Lakers that did play well against Denver in some of the games. Yeah, but you know, I mean, he could. I mean, he could just do a 1 year. He could do a 1 year, and then after then, with the wink and the nod that you're going to re-sign me at a lot of money, help me make up for it on the next contract. Just a 1 year. I mean, it could play out that way. But I do think whatever may be said of Kyrie, though. I mean, I do believe he wants to win. I do believe he wants to win, and I think that he knows that unless Dallas makes some big moves, they need to make, re-signing him is not enough for them. But unless they make some a big move or two, they can't. They're not going to be able to win.
Carlos, he's so polar. He's polarization. Carlos, send him all the way to China.
Oh, come on, Carlos. That's a little bit. That's much. That's tough, man.
He wants to humble him, don't he?
Yeah, but you remember, who went to China and made good over there? Stephon Marbury.
Stephon Marbury. You got a great memory. Yeah.
Starbury. Yeah, Starbury. Yeah.
I hear him say it.
Played well and got some business things going. And I saw some pictures of him and this modest Chinese lady. So I think he may have found love over there also.
Well,
so
I just hope
it was a bonanza for him, right?
It'd be hard for us to get him back if he gets in any trouble over there.
Right.
There. Yeah, he really is. He's been over there for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I wonder. I mean, do they speak any English over there at all? I mean, Chinese is definitely ranks up there as one of the more difficult languages to pick up on.
Yeah, I'm sure they found a way to get around it. You couldn't pay me to go. I mean, it's everything I read about China now. There was a crazy article about China. I read that if you run a person over, that people are running that person over again. Like if you gotta get
the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Well, they got kind of literal on this eye for an eye thing. If you run someone over, just to run over you.
You're a lawyer, Jeffrey. Can you believe that? It's an article I read. It looked to be pretty legit. I read this yesterday.
That is insane.
So you have to pay for that person's doctor bills for life if they live. So these people are getting this is on film, getting out of their car, running back over and killing the person. You just pay for their funeral expenses.
Oh, come on.
I don't know how true that is, but there was a video that went viral.
Yeah.
This guy runs a woman.
I hope to God that that's not true, because it would be to conclude otherwise would be crazy. But but they have the I think it's like it's enforced. You can have the 2 kids. 2 kids.
Yeah, and I think they just recently changed. Yeah, that was the rule forever. You can only have so many girls and so many boys, and
it's
poor Stephon Marbury. It can turn real quick. Don't drive a moped or a motorcycle and stay clear on the sidewalk if you're in China, according to the articles.
Absolutely. Well, look, this was another great episode on a Sports Scope. I had a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to coming back again. There's going to be some more things.
I think the Knicks will do something, Jeffrey. I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again for having me, Rob.
Okay, guy. Hey, you have a good one, and I'll see you next time. I'll stay in touch. It's always good, man.
Absolutely. It always is. Thanks, my friend.
All right, buddy. See ya. Okay, everybody. I'll be back here tomorrow around 8 p.m. Eastern. Going to go over a few things. I may go over the NFC South, talk about that a little bit. I've got a theory on Golden State, and I'll save it for tomorrow. I've got a nuclear option for Golden State. I'll save it for tomorrow, okay? All right, everybody. Thanks again for watching. Same time, same place here on Sports Scope.